Games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. Guess I'll be talking about wrapping up the spiel, and I might talk about the bits I feel once went well and not so great. Join me as I pontificate. I might ponder and I might sing. Essen spiel, it was a thing. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. Time for busy beats and board game blether. And yes, today, as it says on the little bits below, I am finishing up my debrief. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about in a while, but yeah, for now, let's wrap up, talk about what happened in the evening, what happened when I came back, and yeah, that's pretty much what today's episode is about. And I'll see if I can do some. Yeah, I don't like the idea of doing top lists of games or. But if you've got any questions, then please always ask. Let's talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. Pardon me. So this is an event rather than a highlight. Yesterday I was fairly tired. I slept a lot. I had a long nap for the day and then I was ready, just going back to sleep. And yeah, then the fire alarm started going off intermittently. About half an hour ago, it's finally stopped. But it was going off from literally midnight until 9 a.m. And because of that, I'm feeling, oof, my head. It's like, yeah, thankfully it stops now. But yeah, I did manage to write a whole bunch of stuff for two upcoming games, the two games that I'm planning to get released at a gamer's gaming getaway. And I'm going to chat to, yeah, my graphic designer, Jack, who's helping me with graphic design to make sure that that's working together. I had a lovely conversation with Kirsten Lunda, who's my co-designer on one of these things. And yeah, one of the games that I'm going to be bringing out is, how can I put it? It's a game about writing words that match one of two topics and starts with one of two letters, and you're hoping to match other people exactly 3 times. If you match them more than three, then you go bust. Otherwise, whether you match one, two, or three things with other people, you get 1, 2, or 4 points. And that's that game. It's quite a nice little thing. It's about matching, but then the fact that you're aiming for a certain number rather than doing trying to get as many as you want as you can, that makes it feel slightly different. The other game that I'm working on is a game about one person setting a scenario and asking other people how long they would do it for, either, pardon me, either for fun or for £1 million. And other people say if they would do it, never know, at seconds or minutes, hours and hours, days or a few weeks, month, no, weeks or a few months, hours or days, weeks or a few months, years and years, or always forever. And the scenario giver is trying to have as many votes, as many different votes. They get 1 point for each different vote, so they're trying to confuse people. Everyone else is trying to guess votes the same as everyone else. So everyone else is trying to get 1 point for each other person that they matched. And so, yeah, they're both fairly social games. They both feel quite like they're playing in a similar space, but hopefully people can, yeah, enjoy them both separately for what they are. And I'm looking forward to getting them out, having people play them. I'm also looking forward to my co-design with Laura Wood, and that's going to be a little bit more work. But yes, still got to write some rules. Um, yeah, was feeling a little bit headachy. Definitely the alarm didn't help, but feeling a tiny bit better after an immense amount of sleep. Let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant things. What's a little thing which is brilliant? I'm going to talk about co-designing. So, like co-designing with Kirsten Lunda, we had a meeting, and it was a case of, wow, you've done so much with this content, and you've got some ideas, and now I've put in some ideas, and each of us can be bouncing off each other. Each of us is feeding off each other, like feeding off the energy. And I think that co-creating, brainstorming together, coming up with ideas together, checking on each other, having a co-designer is absolutely a brilliant thing, and that's something that I absolutely treasure. Now let's get to spiel, and as always, feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow. So here is one of the creatures on the right, the basic card from a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after mixed noises. On the left is a custom card because I admitted, yes, this cat is a bit too cat-like. I mean, given the mouth is the bit that's making the noise, and sure, the bottom is kind of like the flying spaghetti monster. If you look carefully, there's a fork, there's, tentacles and even meatballs, and, it's got the extra eyes, but that doesn't change the noise that you would make for it. You're still going to make the meow noise. And so I promised that I would customize the art if they bought a copy. So that's what I did. You can see on the left, it's got a big scowling mouth, and so they'll make a totally different noise. And I hope that, yeah, entertains them. Pastry, as I've said before, it's all about going to the bakery before the show, getting your snacks for basically breakfast, lunch, and maybe even a late lunch. And yeah, that's the way to eat in the Messe, in my opinion. Bastard, Board Game Cafe, some people from, oh my gosh, Netherlands? They are, I apologize if I got that wrong, but they're a lovely board game cafe, and of course gave them a couple of things for their library. And I hope that I'll be able to work with them at some point to expose more people to my stuff, because it's all well and good having things in the cafe, but are people actually going to pick it up? Well, that depends. Does it have a pretty box? And frankly, is it something that they've heard of? Um, Towards the end, the halls were winding down. I managed to get my stuff into Alan and Charlie's car. It was just a few bits. Met Danielle and Monique as I wandered through the halls. Lovely people. Danielle, it was lovely to see them a few times, even though we didn't have as much chance to chat as I would have liked. And Monique, we hadn't had any chance to chat during the show. So it was lovely to finally, right at the end, get a chance to say hello. I went to this lovely Korean restaurant where this soup, seaweed and prawns, oh my gosh, it was so lovely. And they had um, all these cranes. I've heard a thing about if you make 1,000 origami cranes in a year, then you have like eternal good luck, which is a big commitment. That's like about 3 a day. And I can imagine that if you do that, sure, things are going to happen. Also ate a tiny bit of duck and a sort of pork and kimchi mixture. I was actually expecting it to come on a plate more separated, so I think I would go for the bibimbap or the duck next time if I were to ever go again. We all went into this hotel, and it was a lovely place to be, and it was glorious to be invited to play Take a Seat, a game, a yeah, there's not. Now I just realized there is absolutely zero randomness in this game. That's very interesting. It's not a roll and write. It is a sort of think and write. You pass your thing left, and someone marks off one of the bits on the polyominoes and then puts the remainder of that polyomino on that area of the map. and then beside you is one player mat that you're sharing. Well, one take a seat card, like you can see on the left, that I'm sharing with my left neighbor, and one very similar thing that I'm sharing with my right neighbor. And with your neighbors, you are, I'm not going to say collaborating, but or even working together, because you are definitely competing, but you are both shrinking the area that you will draw every turn. And then that smaller area has to be put onto the map. The way you score is going to be through 4 cards, and these cards will get you points. In our case, it was how much of the yellows have you covered, how much of the reds have you covered, how many different rows completed have you done, and how many bits around all the um, pillars have you done. And there's other icons that will be used for other objectives. So there's a good bit of variety, and one of them scores double points. I managed to score maximum points on 3 of them and score 12 for 4 rows. And then the other bit that you do is you look at how many do you have a majority in the yellow, because my neighbor has marked it 3 times, I've marked it 0. But conversely, I have an absolute majority in the second area because I've marked it 3 times. I was playing green, Dave marked it 0, so I get 2 points for that. And you're trying to get majorities in both your left neighbor and your right neighbor. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot going on. I didn't win, but I got, I placed, I think like third out of 6. It was second, third, fourth, something like that. And it's definitely interesting. There's an awful lot to think about, especially at the start. And there is some front loading, but there's an immense amount of interaction, which I really appreciate. And so you're constantly having to adapt to what your opponents do. And there's also some special abilities that you can either do or take the points. It's a really nice little thing. We also played That's Not a Hat, where you pass cards around left and right. And this was a prototype, but it's a really lovely memory game, and I would be very keen to play it with fewer players. I think that personally, I would enjoy it more at the 3-player count rather than the 6-player count we tried it at. But there's a very nice system of, okay, this moves around, and then you kind of only need to remember one thing to be absolutely certain of not messing up. But then, yeah, the idea is that it's going to it feels like also a nice thing to play when everyone's just on the cusp of memory. Like a lot of these, let's call them stupid games, it's not fun if you constantly succeed. Like T. Nguyen talks about in Art of Agency, and says, yes, some games like Twister, like My Own Yogi or whatever, it's kind of fun because you fail. And similarly, I think memory games fall under a similar sort of category, where you want people to have some memory, but you want people to have not perfect memory. And it's in that space that you will actually get people having the best experience. We played Mana Mana, which is a very interactive game. Um, Picking up cards, laying down sets in front of yourself. If you put down a set in front of yourself, you ideally want it to be 6 cards of a kind for maximum points. But if you put down fewer than 6 of a kind, for whatever reason, then other people can add to it. You can't add to your own sets, only other people. And that means that then they can get extra points. Again, this is highly interactive. And I think that there were a few little things that I only quite understood about halfway through the game. And I think there's a lot to consider here. And I would absolutely play it a couple of times in a row just to access that interaction. It was an absolutely delightful evening. We also played a couple of my games, and I got some ideas for how to improve a game about stuffing balloons as a team without talking, but it's a card game, there are no actual balloons. I'm going to try out, maybe tomorrow at the playtest event, I'm going to try out a simplification of the points, maybe trying just one number rather than having two on a card, maybe trying icons for smaller things where it goes plus or minus, and maybe having a few more negatives so that regardless of the player count, it's always you're aiming for 0. And then would I be able to make it so that people can play different numbers of cards to a thing? Because someone was suggesting that they really wanted to kind of push your luck. Can we put more things into a balloon? And that would be perhaps quite interesting if there was a, okay, I'm going to keep putting multiple things. Yeah, we set off super early the next morning, myself, Alan, and Charlie Paul, much earlier than I would have liked. I believe it was 7:30? Yeah, 7:30 was the time we were aiming for. We were on the motorway before 8 o'clock, and just some gorgeous architecture, giant bridges, windmills, and lovely farms. And it's always at the gas stations. I mean, gas stations aren't the petrol stations, whatever you call them, aren't the most exciting places. But then you get things like this, the meat that apparently has sweet and spicy sauce in the middle. And I love these pastries, only a couple of which I know. And it's like, oh, that looks good, that looks good. And I was very tempted to get some herring salad because, again, that's not a thing that you normally get in the UK. I ended up for lunch having these items. Let me talk you through them. So this one, a bit of meat, some sort of slightly bready covering. Even though it had sweet chili sauce in the middle, it didn't have much spiciness as I think in mainland Europe there isn't much spiciness going on for whatever reason, like certainly in the Netherlands, Germany, France region. I guess they don't like chilies in general. Um, the meat, ironically, was a bit dry. And these noodles were so good. I'd had one on the way out. It's fried noodles with a little bit of vegetables covered in breadcrumbs. It is the most lovely thing ever. I want to one day have one of these that's not from a gas station, but this one tasted super fresh. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just so good. I could have one of these like every day, and I could, if it was nutritionally okay, I could eat like nothing but this for quite a while without getting bored of them. Like I would Leffe, nice beer, 0% alcohol. It was nice. I mean, just again, not a thing that I'd had anywhere else. There was a bit of graffiti that I wanted to take photos of. A lot of it I missed. But here's one from animals and a little fish, nicely decorating the back of a sign for us. Of course, we saw plenty of wind turbines, and we all were lined up, ready to go into the ferry, and on the ferry played two games. Firstly, we played 3 games of Similo. There was this special deck where it was all about board games having been released at S 2022, and we managed to win our 3rd game. The first 2 we didn't quite get there, but yeah, Similo, I think from Horrible Guild Games. I forgive me if I'm wrong, but once you've got, so they've got decks that came out before about animals or fairy tales, which work perfectly fine, and so when you've got something that, okay, we need a lot of content and the content doesn't matter too much, I think it's a really nice idea to say, yeah, let's go for a special thing. Like, this reminds me of the Twinit special edition from Cannes, Festival International de Jeux, where they had a whole bunch of different board games. That was a glorious thing. Of course, the art for the board games in that one had been very much, it was more inspired by that game rather than, it certainly wasn't a picture of the board game like you have here. There it was, hey, here's some art and it's vaguely inspired by these things. And yeah, it's interesting that the game is robust enough. I don't think I could do that with something like a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify the monsters' six noises, because I've come to realize that the cute comical creature version is better than the wee whimsical creatures version, just because it's a little bit easier. People have a easier time making all the noises. They enjoy it a bit more. They don't. There's more prompts in terms of the mouth shapes, in terms of the emotion behind the creature. I think it's done a little bit more, and I've focused on what's actually going to make the noise, i.e., the mouth, the emotion. Yeah, that's the main bits, and some of them have different legs or whatever. But back in the day, back when I did a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after it makes noises over a year ago, there I tried to keep all the creatures diverse, but there was a lot of stuff that didn't really matter. I mean, the number of eyes, sure, it does make some difference, but not to the extent that focusing on not just the size of the mouth and the number of mouths, but also and the style of the mouth, but also the mouth shape and the emotion, like really putting more emotions into my creatures. And so I can't do this, but I would love to make a game one day where it does just need a whole bunch of content, and I could make it or remake it when it's popular enough with a bunch of board games. And I think that's such a lovely position to be in, and being able to work with others. Of course, we arrived at the cliffs, everyone was taking photos, and I do want to give a shout out to Buccaneer Bones, where roll doubles to get to move down, roll triples to get all the way down, and then roll a triple to move all the way back. Get free ships back, you win the game, but if you leave your ships down, you get the special abilities. I enjoyed it. I think Alan enjoyed it. Charlie was not keen on it at all. I would be keen to try it with other people. Um, the last thing I want to say is, yeah, sweets. Got this thing from Studio Each. Um, so it was like a little goodie bag. The marketing manager had actually made this shortbread themselves. It was fairly nicely made. I wanted to make sure that I ate it before it went bad because it was just in a bag. And of course, lots of sweets that they'd probably bought in a bunch of different supermarkets, and it was super lovely. Hello, Xate. And Xate is, of course, the only other person I know who would actually cook something or bake something with a logo on it, as you can see by the chocolate in Xate's um, profile picture there. And yeah, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for joining in. But yes, this was from Studio Each, and it was lovely to devour. The other thing was this that I bought from the gas station. And that brings me to basically the end of my photos. It was overall a lovely trip back, and the one thing I didn't photograph, which I should mention, is Monday evening having a dinner together just before I departed. I said goodbye to Alan and Charlie at Upminster, making my own way back because I didn't have a ridiculous amount of stock, so I could fit everything into rucksack and a couple of boxes that I could sort of carry. When I say sort of carry, normally it's a 5 minute walk from here to the train station, and walking that distance back, I had to stop about 10 times. But yeah, like put the boxes onto a wall and be like, oh, okay, I can do this, keep on going. It was tiring with those boxes, but yes, I did get them made home safely, absolutely. 6 in the back, 7 in the, yeah, boxes, and lots of clothes and stuff to wrap it up in. Um, yeah, it's, again, I guess this is a point where I want to kind of do an overall, yeah, how was it? And with the games, it's so impossible to tell the quality of a game. Like when I talk about um, Ready Set Bet, the game which I played with with 6 other people, 7 of us, I absolutely adored that. Would it be good with a different crowd? I don't know. Because the people that I played it with were so enthusiastic, were so kind of hyping it. You want one person to commentate as they're rolling the dice. And yeah, Wandering Tower, it worked okay, but we had some issues. But then I would happily play that again and just to try it out and be like, okay, I think that's if we played with these variations of the rules rather than that variation of the rules, I would definitely enjoy it more. And if everyone else feels the same, I mean, most games, let's be honest, I would happily play again. It takes a particularly bad game where I'm like, yeah, I would not choose to play this again. And out of like the one game that I bought, Buccaneer Bones, the one that I actually paid money for, does that mean that it's the best game I saw there? No, not by any means, but it was partially all about the fact that it had this wonderful moment with the designer, and then I thought, well, that one's only a fiver, and I had fun with it. I can imagine having fun with it at least once in the future, and I imagine Chris will like it, and that's good enough. And so, yeah. Um, says, I don't drink alone, so we'll have to plan to Skype and chat and share some mead sometime. You can also share it with, you know, do your regular guests not drink ever? I mean, for me, the reason why I bought so much isn't because I plan to drink it on my own. Although I might drink a tiny bit, but mainly to drink with other people who are visiting for games. It's like, oh, we've played games. Okay, it's getting towards the end. So would you like to have some mead? And then we bring out the potentially sillier stuff or, yeah, whatnot. I mean, in terms of stuff that I brought back, next year I'd probably bring back a lot less mead, especially because I'm not going to be here for so long unless I choose to take it to KCON, my leaving do, I guess. Um, I think I would probably buy a similar number of games, which is one. Um, and I think I would try and prioritize wandering around, playing games that I can play. And I think I would want to tell people a little bit further ahead of time and maybe schedule up some tweets to say, hey, I am doing this thing at 2 p.m. And maybe I noticed that my 2 p.m. events at Spiel, they averaged around, I'm going to say, maybe 25 minutes, just under 30. Whereas at UK Games Expo, I would say that they averaged just over 40 minutes. And I think that part of that is when you've got 12 people, it makes a lot more sense to say, okay, you play and then you split groups and then you play again. So you're playing with different people. And now we've got this big semi-final thing. And then now we've got this big final. And the final, when there's 2 or 3 people in that final, and we can make it more exciting. There can be more going on. And with so many people, it can be like, okay, this table, everyone here is going to be in the finals except for one person. And here, one person from here will be in the finals. So it's kind of like a wild card almost. And trying to have those changes, like also when I've got my own stand, I can sort of add stuff like with a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your radishes. I got people to color that in all day over the weekend. Obviously, that's not something that I could have done here. And I am aware that at Essen, there's so much going on. I don't want people to feel, oh, do I want to go there? It's 40 minutes. That's 40 minutes out of my day. I mean, sure, if they want to stick around. When I think about my lessons, and here I'm just totally rambling now, like for the 2 p.m. events, yeah, lessons for 2 p.m. events. I think it was nice having a specific time to be there. I think every day there was at least one person who came to see me, and it was really nice to be able to say hello to people, to be able to run those things. And 2 p.m. events are definitely a thing that I would always do. I if I can piggyback on someone else's stand. I don't know if I would necessarily stay there for quite as long afterwards. I might say to everyone, okay, I'm going to be here from. The problem with me saying I'm going to be there from 1:45 is that if I get there and then the previous person hasn't sort of given up the table, because if I'm sharing a table with someone else, there needs to be some handover time. So it makes a lot more sense for me to say, okay, I'm going to be there from 1:30. And then if I get there at 1:30 and they're still playing the game, I can happily wait for 20 minutes and let them finish the game. But of course, if it was at 1:45, then I'd kind of be asking them, no, cleared, and that would be a bit more stressful. So I think that works well. I think that probably saying I'm going to be there until 3 p.m. and I will stay longer if there's people who want to chat or play more games, that's probably a good thing. I scheduled it in my plans that I would stay around until 3:30 and maybe even 4 o'clock, and they only had one meeting, that was at 4. But I think that was a little bit longer than I needed. I mean, I could have I mean, there was at least a couple of days where I was constantly playing stuff, and I'm sure I could have continued to play stuff a good amount longer. But if I can ask the people that I'm sharing a stand with to be slightly flexible and say, okay, I will be there from 1:30 until 3 o'clock, and if people are particularly wanting to continue to speak and chat to me, I'll maybe be there until 4 o'clock. So could we put the like 3 till 4, like kind of a backup time that we kind of. But again, this is that's not great for them, and that's me asking a lot of them. But I'm happy with how they went, and yeah, the other thing is, am I actually going to be selling my stuff at Spiel? It's entirely possible that next year I'll just be doing, okay, here's a 2 p.m. event at this stand because Surprise Star Games are publishing one of my games, and a 2 p.m. event at this other stand where this other company's publishing one of my games. That would be nice. And I might ask publishers if they can try and time the events for 2 p.m. and I'll do things. When I look at what I actually did, on Friday, a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after some mixed noises, was super short and it was fun. It was appreciated. We didn't have any craziness. It was just a regular game. The second day, the word games, we played, I believe, Wibble, then Categorical in terms of two teams, and then we played a second game of Categorical with the top three players um, playing a new version that it works okay. And I think that even though before I was always, okay, the finals are going to be two people, I think there's something really nice about having three people in the finals and makes it more of a spectacle. It means that if the top two people are both from the same family, or if they're a couple, or if they are friends, I want to have at least one other person that's not from that group. Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of a bit sad when, hey, you two are the finalists and you two are both in, like, it doesn't really matter too much for you two who wins. The final should be like this high energy thing. Conversely, for Saturday, we played Grabble, then Triple, then we played Grabble again, and then the second time we played Grabble, it was with three decks all mixed together, one deck per person. that was a good amount. There wasn't anything more to learn, but it was just, aha, it's going to be endurance mode. It's going to be a bit different. It's going something extra going on. I think that's a really nice combo. I think that combo works well, but I feel like, yeah, for what's it, and I am going to rethink the Wibble things, but again, it depends on what I'm actually selling, what games are going on. And then on Sunday, the emotional things, it worked fine when it was one emotion, and then you bet on the one emotion plus the creatures. You need to portray both of them in one noise. But when we went up to two emotions at once, it did feel, it felt okay, it felt fine, but I think, yeah, it's not something that's like, oh yeah, I want to do exactly that same thing again. The only 2 p.m. events I've ever run where I feel like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do exactly again was either the was yeah, was actually Tabletop Scotland when I did a game about we were quickly grabbing creatures. That's totally different than counting your vegetables, where we started off with turnips, then we went to the beetroots, and then we went to the radishes before going to the colored version for the final. And I think that that colored in version, which is unique to that convention, is really nice. Um, what other lessons? Let's talk about pitches, because that's the reason that I went there. My pitches, as I say, they went well. I think that I'm going to do what Adam Porter suggested, and first year, show everything to my first choice. Next, like 6 months later or next year, show everything to my second choice, and then any year thereafter, show anything that's not properly signed up to anyone and everyone. I'd like to believe that even though there were two people who didn't like any of my things for their company, they liked um, some of them. They liked them as games. It was just that it wasn't the right fit. So what I really need to do is to start working on, firstly, some games that are um, have more components, not just card games, but something that's got a bit more table presence. That's what I'm going to do. And secondly, I'm going to start designing more games that are about taking turns and not real time. And if I manage to do that, I think that I will have enough things for that all the companies that I showed stuff to will hopefully have at least one thing that they're like, oh yeah, that is for me. Let me try that. And let me play that internally. Obviously, the games themselves need to be good enough, but it's also a question of style. It's also a question of fit, because when someone says, yeah, these are good games, but I want games that cost 25 quid and have a component, as opposed to games that are, £10 maximum and are just a deck of cards. That's nothing to do with the quality of the game. That's all about the style, and that's just something to do with the fit. I think one thing that I've learned is once I do the demo, I just ask, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Because that's kind of why I'm there. I'm there to hear, is this a good fit? Are they going to examine it further? And yeah, me rambling on is a waste of both our times because they've just seen the things. So I could ramble on if it's a maybe, but if it's already a no, why am I rambling on? Um, let's talk about, yeah, meeting with friends. That's a big part of it. And I think that that was such a lovely part. I mean, Xate obviously was wonderful to be with, and not just because Xate invited me to food, but also, yeah, it was just lovely hanging out and chatting and playing games and stuff. Um, who else did I meet? Um, like I didn't have much time to see Danielle and lots of other people. I didn't have yeah, I never got to meet Ellie Dix, but I feel totally okay with that because whilst I love Ellie Dix, I don't feel any need to say hello or hang out with people that I already see all the time in the UK. I mean, Mandela was there apparently, but there's lots of other people that Mandela could see. There's other people that I would like to see. I mean, Mandela and I can hang out basically any Friday. We hang out all the time. And so when I'm there, I think the other thing is, yeah, I want to think about, yeah, how can we get stuff done and how can we have a good time? And I think I kind of wish that I'd um, been able to see Ilka's concert because there was something for Lacrimosa, and I did get to see Ilka Luza and Dave Luza and Yoda, which was wonderful. And I got to see oh my gosh, sorry, I've forgotten the names, the designers of Winter, who were also being published by De Vere, and it was lovely to see all these people, even though it was really brief. And I think that's the key thing, that you can't see everyone, and you have to some degree, pick. And I think that, yeah, it's a hard thing to say that as I do more and more pitches, I'll probably have less time for friends. Sate says, I thought it was fun to meet Mandela again. He sold me a game last year and again this year. Which game? I'm curious. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about sleep and food. Um, so in terms of sleep, I got I was waking up around 6:30 most days, and I woke up a little bit earlier. The one day when I had to wash my hair because of hair being burnt. Yeah, that was not a good time. But yeah, that gave me time to walk to Hopsbahnhof, well, get myself ready, um, put a few things onto Twitter potentially, walk to Hopsbahnhof and buy a few things, travel to the Messe, and I normally arrived there before 9. So I would get to wander around, see some things, and sometimes I was playing a game before the halls officially opened, which was lovely. Um, yeah, walking around before it's opened is something that I value very highly. I got to make one meeting with, I mean, a publisher who then took, I think, 5 different games from me. And that would not have happened had I not been eating the pastry and then striking up a conversation with someone who was also in the courtyard. Um, and yeah, I think that I would like to keep going there. I think that I need to remember the U-Bahn closes very soon after 11. Um, there wasn't any night where I missed the U-Bahn, so it was all good. Um, one night I walked back with Kathleen. Um, one night I ran back to the U-Bahn with a friend that I just met at the Gamma place. What was I doing on Friday? I feel like Friday I went back relatively early, yeah. I feel like I'm actually happy with that because whilst I did stay up until 2 a.m. on the Sunday, on the Monday, I felt completely shattered. And so I think that's how I would try and keep, you know, going back. Like, if it's 11 o'clock, okay, I need to get to the U-Bahn, I need to get back, and I need to sort myself out. Um, yeah. And I will have a look at your haul in a moment. Let's carry on talking about the other things. The hotel. The hotel that I went to wasn't as cheap as places that I've been in the past. In the past, I've been in places that are a little bit further away, places that take maybe an hour-ish to get to. but also when you're traveling to Düsseldorf or when you're traveling to the outskirts of Essen, then you can't leave the party so early. You don't late. So you don't have that chance. I think that next year I would try and stay somewhere basically near Hauptbahnhof if I can at all. Um, yeah, and I'm glad I went there, even though like the price was reduced because I got it from someone else, and Kathleen was an absolute delight to stay with. I would want to, if I can, I would want to continue staying with someone that I already know, just so I don't have this, oh, well, we get on, and there's this slight bit of um, getting to know someone. Whilst that was lovely, that one time that I went 1 year and then I stayed in a hotel and I met someone, basically found someone on the way that I was going to stay with, which was lovely. But yeah, it is nicer staying with just because you're going to have to, oh, kind of be naked in like one doorway away from someone else, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to have to come out with a towel around me, and yeah, now we are going into the bathroom, so it's all like not that we have to, like now we're sleeping. It's like it's easier when you kind of know each other, I think. Um, but yeah, I definitely try and do things similarly if I can. Um, is there anything else to talk about? I guess food. I would continue trying to use the bakery every single morning. That is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Having baked goods in the morning, buy them, and yeah, if I can schedule some meetings with, the community manager or other people from Board Game Arena or other people from Asmodee, obviously that would be cool. But realistically, like it might be that I'm just even more on the go and I don't have time to chill out there. So it might be like, okay, I'm baked goods and that's what I'm having for breakfast and lunch. Three it feels like a good number, maybe four. And I would also bring more snacks, not for myself to eat from the UK. I would not bring the peanuts. I would definitely bring um I'd possibly bring slightly more oat cakes because oat cakes are something that people enjoy. And at the end, it's like, hey, I've got these oat cakes left. Have some Scottish oat cakes. People are like, hey, thanks for these Scottish oat cakes. I think I would also take more of the Tunnocks caramel wafers because that's a unique thing to the UK. And then it's like, hey, here's some Tunnocks caramel wafers. And if I took like double the number that I taken, I think I would be able to be a little bit more free with them. And yeah, I think that's everything that I can really talk about. Um, pitches, friends, sleep, hotel, food. Oh my gosh, games. Yeah, playing. Let's talk about playing games that I didn't actually design. So playing, I would, yeah, there are some things that I know I will enjoy. I'm always interested in the new abstract game from Gigamic. I'll always enjoy that. I can walk around and get a good sense of, yes, that's something I'm interested in. I am interested in both a professional level and also in a curiosity kind of level in anything new from Haba. And yeah, Helvetic, I want to continue having that back and forth with them. And yeah, I think I would do a similar thing where I was looking through the list of, okay, what are all the cool games? Do I want to buy anything? I think that if I were to go again next year, for example, I would not even bother starting to look at that list. I would be like, yeah, let me um, wander through on Wednesday or Tuesday and let me have a quick look. And that will give me a bit of an idea, and then I'll just wander around. And I'm not going to play any of the games that take half an hour or more. unless there's extenuating circumstances. The one thing I played of that length was Fife, that I played against, well, I started off playing against the designer, my friend Louisa, who was demonstrating for them, and another designer of another game who had to drop out sadly halfway through. But the other designer on my right might have actually been ready to win the game had they not had to leave. But I did fairly well at it, and I enjoyed the game, I enjoyed playing it, but I'm aware that it took a chunk out of my day. And that's the key thing. I want to play games that are going to take me, half an hour or less. And ideally, the gameplay should be like 20 minutes. And so, including half, like, I've got this amount of time and some things that I can play whilst, hey, I'm going from this meeting to this meeting, and I just wander through. And if there's an empty table somewhere on a game that looks mildly interesting, I'll sit down and I'll ask to play it. I think that's what I would do, just be an opportunistic player rather than someone who's specifically going after specific things, if you know what I mean. And it's more about, hey, I'm enjoying this, and you've clearly won, Xates, let me stop. Hello, hello, Jess. It is lovely to see you. Thank you for joining in, and lots of love to you too. And I am your favorite what? I am your favorite streamer who normally dresses up in red. Well, thank you very much. Although I'm aware that there isn't a lot of competition. Is Jess my favorite blonde? Oof, that feels like a high watermark. I know a lot of blonde people. But yeah, you're definitely up there. You're definitely one of them, if not my favorite. State says Bez does hate that moment of realization that I have won again. No, I don't. You're just messing me around. Ah, am I your favorite community manager for an online board game company? 100%. Yes, you are. You're also, I'm going to say, you're yeah. And Jess says Bangkok is waiting for you. Yes, I'm looking forward to being there next November in about 13 months. Am I your favorite American woman living in Leipzig? Yeah, I think you are. Almost certainly. And sorry, Jess, lots of love. And I know you can keep having fun on your own. But yes, is there anything else that I should talk about for Essen? Let's move to the question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question of the day is, yeah, do you like tomato juice? Do you like gazpacho soup? Because gazpacho soup, yeah, sure, it's apparently like 2/3 tomato juice, but I bought this gazpacho soup, like 2 big jugs of it from Lidl just before I left, and then yesterday I opened it. I was, oh, this is so good. I've been drinking half cups out of the same thing, and I love gazpacho soup. It's like a bit of cucumber, a bit of tomato, a bit of other stuff going on, a bit of citrusy flavor in there. It's so good. I love it. What about you? Um, and yeah, do you like gazpacho soup? I'm not going to answer any other questions until you answer mine. Over to you. What are you up to? You can share, Botsney, if you want to. What are you up to today? I am personally the things I need to do, the things I want to do. I would very much like to go outside very briefly and see the ducks. Just get out the house, a brief thing. Like, I smile more when I take a walk outside. It's just a fact. Going to get outside. Yeah. Ooh, I'm see that my co-designer has sent me some notes that I will have a look through. I'm not like have to is a strong word, but I feel like I kind of have to go to a friend's birthday party, which I am looking forward to, don't get me wrong. That's this evening. And again, I'm looking forward to this, but I kind of have to redesign a game about stuffing balloons as a team without talking about it's a card game, draw no actual balloons. I'm going to redesign that. If I've got energy left over, I might look at my upcoming designs. I might look at my upcoming Kickstarter, sort that out. If I've got a bit less energy, then I'll probably do some emailing. If I've got even less energy, then I might just read some comics. But yes, what are you up to? And Jess says, gazpacho soup. I don't know. And Sate says, I don't like gazpacho soup. But in Barcelona, we had one I very much did like, so maybe it's very much hit or miss. Maybe. And now, yep. Am I your favorite person to have drunk mead with in Hall 6 at Spiel 2022? Yes, you are, Sate. Am I your favorite ENFP? I cannot say for sure. And I'm glad that you have fun on your own. Oh my gosh, your mum is here. Hello, Jess's mum. And enjoy your mum's company. That sounds lovely. And yeah, enjoy your grading on the skyscraper. The paper plane project seems like a perfectly reasonable name. So yes, at this point, tell me what you're up to, and is there anything else you would like to ask me about Essen Spiel 2022? Because otherwise, I feel like I'm officially done talking about it, but I can't help but feel like I'm missing something. So recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, my pitches went well. I am happy with them, and I would hope to pitch to even more companies next year. I really enjoyed making time with friends. I'm happy that I made time to be with Xate. I would like to maybe go to BerlinCon next year, mainly, not gonna lie, to spend that time with friends, or mainly for Xate. And I think that I would like to be able to travel around. I am considering, now that I've finally managed to sort out my passport, get out of the country, could I go to Germany again, like even this year? I don't know. Something I'll have to ponder. But yeah, seeing friends is super important, but I'm not sure that seeing friends during the show is the right thing to do for me long term, because it's just so busy, and I feel like long term, I probably want to focus on, yeah, seeing the games, trying them out, and if there's friends that can wander around with me and try super quick games, then all the better. But yeah, pitching is my number one priority. Not gonna lie, I did manage to see Chantal. That was lovely. I don't normally see Chantal. That's going to be a hard thing for me to do as well. And yeah, I'm trying to think actually, other than Xates and Chantal, who else was like, yeah, I got to see this person. Because I got to have a brief conversation with Randy Flynn and the semi-co-op peeps, and I saw T and finally met up with Dina. I saw Stella and a bunch of people that it feels like the only time I will ever see these people is at convention. So that's kind of a priority. I need to sleep enough. I think that leaving wherever I am at 11 p.m., that's my hard limit. I can't be out beyond that. Yeah, 6:30 is a good time for me to wake up. I will try and keep, if I can, finding somewhere that's relatively close. And food, definitely all over the bakeries. My evening meals, sure, buying something from the Hauptbahnhof itself, like one night was perfectly reasonable. but I think I would venture outside, and unless it's the vegan restaurant, which was specifically vegan, I don't think I would buy vegetarian things again in Germany, just because, yeah, I would go to a vegan restaurant, but unless it specifically, yeah, this does look good. I would carry on playing things that are short enough, carry on playing things that are either, oh, looks like I really want to play it and it's short, or it's, hey, this is a company or a designer that I want to work more with, or the style of game I would like to work more on. And that's my general over thoughts. Oh, Chantal, it was lovely to see you. Gazpacho is okay if freshly made. I am off to the library to learn Dutch. And yeah, yes, Dina was there. Dina was wandering all around. And Leipzig is kind of close to Berlin, right? I mean, it's an hour, maybe 2 hours away, something like that. But yeah, it's in the same country at least, so it can't be that far. It's not like Germany is. Well, Germany is pretty big, but yeah. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for being so lovely, both of you. Everyone, actually. Let me go back to the things. Let me share my. So yes, bakery, amazing. Wandering around the halls, lovely to be there early. Yeah, Hasbro. I mean, I'm honored to be. Yeah, just like playing stuff that was a quick go. I could have bought it. I would have probably enjoyed it, but I'm glad that I didn't. I don't need loads of new things. Playing games with the designers, just trying to get to know new companies, trying to get to know what they're all about. That was super lovely. I would, yes, pause for maybe 2 minutes at the people playing chess. Although the commentator, I feel, really lacks energy. I might even gate crash be the commentator. Yeah, meeting people. I think this is an important thing. Just wandering around and being open to seeing people like Candice and just saying hello and then showing them things, and that's an exciting moment. Yeah, I got to see the Fraxel Juegos people and got to quickly look at a couple of their games. Absolutely delightful. I might pitch some things and actually had a proper conversation with Friedman Fries, which was like, when I say a proper conversation, I mean something that lasted more than just 1 minute. And yeah, it was really nice chatting to them and getting to know a wee bit of what they're about. Bodhi coming over, like having a place where this is me, this is where I am, and if you want to see me, then come over to this place at such and such a time. That was a really nice thing to do. And Grisha, like people coming over. It was absolutely delightful, and obviously it felt validating. And Johannes, who's actually Jay Foolsguards, I didn't realize who they were until later on. And mead, this is something that I would always prioritize. I would always taste all of them. You've got to taste all of them. How can you buy and how can you decide if you don't taste all of them? Come on. Yeah, talking to Dan and James, I'll probably get in touch with them. I mean, Xates was really pulling out all the stops to get them. Xate is really good at selling stuff and really good at marketing. I feel like Xate should do more marketing or press relations or something. Because Xate's really good at that. Like wandering by the hotel like on Friday nights and meeting my Glaswegian friends there and playing games. That was just wonderful. Yeah, again, the ready set bet that I talked about. I had so much fun with my Glaswegian friends. Would I have fun with strangers? I don't know. I really don't know. And that's the thing, it's all contextual. Wandering around in the mornings was so lovely. And Fife, I enjoyed that game. Would play it, once more at least. Would have loved to try this. Didn't quite get to go. I would probably, some of the pastries I would buy again. This one, probably not. This one, definitely yes. This one, maybe yes. And yeah, some games are really good. This is not necessarily one of them. It's lovely to be able to communicate with someone like Stephen. I see all the time, but still just having that quick I don't know how long it was, like 20 seconds at most, probably more like 10, just to say hello and tap them on the shoulder with a box. And yeah, I have been thinking about whether I could do something like this, have two people play one of my games. I don't think it would work for me. I think I need to stick with the 2 p.m. events. Biff Hiley, such amazing energy. And yeah, it was so many lovely people. It was lovely to finally meet Tally and people that I've only spoken to online. I would have loved to meet Rita. Star Realms was interesting to play. I'll definitely play it again. Probably, a few times. I would want to try and understand why people love it so much. It's a quality game. It's good. It's fine. Yeah, I can see that's how I would enjoy it. Philosophy. My opponents was taking a little bit too long. They were spending like 20 seconds per move, or so. I said we need to play Hutch Lord Brits, and I was taking like 2 seconds at most. But yeah, we played 2 quick games before I ran off to my, and it was a lovely game. Like again, I feel like Grabble, Triple D speed matching games, they work really well for 2 p.m. events. They're quick to explain, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, I would definitely do that again as a 2 p.m. event. I would be happy with that. Um, this demonstration taught me that it's not just about teaching people to the rules, but it's also about guiding people to have a good experience, which they maybe didn't do. It was lovely meeting the yellow people and going round. Gamma, yeah, lovely evening. I am inspired. I am very tempted to join Gamma, if not next year, maybe the following year, because is America closer to Thailand than it is to the UK? I don't know. I'd have to check the flights. I think it's probably a similar distance. Does anyone know? But it was a lovely occasion, and I was happy to be there. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be able to make the Gamma trade show next year, but once I've gotten the L deck back in production, that will be a really nice thing. And yeah, Sunday, just going round, seeing all the stands, and again, like meetings, being open to those meetings and trying to cram in meetings and trying to leave 1 or 2 days open allowed me to then pick up a couple of meetings that I only got during the show, which was fantastic. Seeing people, seeing friends. I mean, Matthew Dunstan, we only chatted for like 1 or 2 minutes, but yeah, it was lovely and delightful. And yes, I would absolutely yeah, the noise making. I'm never going to get as nice photos as I would if, um, Nick was there. I really enjoy doing these doodles. If you ever see me and want me to sign one of my cards or customize something, please do ask. And yes, I will always happily give some extra prizes on the Sunday to make sure I don't have to travel back. And was an absolute delight. I think I would be looking into, can I get to play some games again with other people? And Alan and Charlie were absolute delights to travel with. I'm slightly sad that in 2024 I won't be able to travel with them, but I will, however, always be able to be friends and hopefully see them, if no time else, at UK Games Expo, which I do plan to come back from, even when I am living in a totally different continent. And that is my recap and wrap up. And Verful Helden was a great game. Yes, I agree. The new thing from Richard Garfield, that was an absolute delight to play. I would also play that South that thing that we played. I would definitely play that again because I think that there's definitely attention, and I think South felt super interactive. It felt like, okay, I need to work out what you're doing and when you're about to go out, and so I need to, yeah, be ready for that. Um, Look, I think that it's Essen 2022 was a delight. Hello, Timmy. Lovely to see you. Just wrapping up. Yes, I agree. Verfel Helden. Yes, dice rolls. That was absolutely wonderful. But I'm saying that South Earth was also good in my personal opinion. And enjoy your tropical island. I have absolutely enjoyed Essen Spiel 2022. I'm so happy that I got to be there, and I hope that 2023 will be equally good. If not, maybe just a smidgen better. I don't hope for like loads better. That feels unrealistic because it was so good. Just a smidgen better. I'm probably going to, yeah, book the hotel relatively soon. Lots of love to you all. And whether you were here from the start or whether you just came in, if you want to check me out, I'm obviously Stuff by Bez. You can check out future streams on stuffbybez.com/streams. Um, since I finished talking about Spiel, I think that Saturday, well, tomorrow, I'm going to do a super quick show on my way to playtesting. I'll show you a bit of London, and I will decide something to talk about on the day. I'll probably, you know what I'll talk about? I'll talk about how my projects are going and talk about what I've made for playtesting. Then Saturday, I will actually do a playthrough with accompanying thoughts of a solo mode of Skull, which is a dice game that I was sent for review. I will chat about it. I'll share my thoughts. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. I'll talk about that more. And then Sunday, I've got Ben Downton, who's going to talk about a marketing thing that they did, which I'm curious about. Monday, oh, I'm meeting Don Eskridge. Like I've met him in real life, but now I get to chat to them for an hour. And then Tuesday, I am going to be launching a Kickstarter. So that's what I'm up to for the next few days. Feel free to share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. It is an absolute delight. And yeah, should we do a quick raid on Twitch? And what's going on? So we've got the stream, we've got similar music. Rose, Amadeus, Board Game Yogi. That's Alex, who I met very briefly. Yeah, I think that so they're playing Hearthstone. Let's go and visit them. Spellen Spectacle. That sounds like a Netherlandish thing. Is that in the Netherlands? I that does make it a lot more likely that I would come in Utrecht. Can you tell me the dates? And if you message me about the dates and stuff on Facebook, I will look it up and, oh no, November, that's too soon. Oof, I don't know about that. And also 5th, 6th November, I've already got plans. I'm already at Nottingham Protospiel, but I do appreciate it. You can see all my plans on my stuffbybez.com/streams. Next week, I'm going to go to KCON. 2 weeks after that, Nottingham Protospiel. 2 weeks after that, Gamers Gaming Getaway. 2 weeks after that, Dragon Meet. And then that 3rd of December finishes up my stuff for the year. And I will have 3 weeks of stuff of not having too much to do before Christmas. And then next year, Bastion, London Toy Fair, Nuremberg Toy Fair, there's all sorts of things already in my diary, so please have a look. And I mean, you can go to Utrecht, but I can't make it. I do apologize. And talking about Utrecht, hello, Dutch Yoda. There's someone else from the Netherlands, and I hope you're having a good morning. But yes, I am just about to do the raid board game Yogi. We are about to finish up. And yes, once more, thank you very much, everyone. It's been an absolute delight. And the only thing left for me to say, much as I hate saying it, much as I hate saying goodbye, it has to be done. Bye. Oh, and I've almost forgot. Please do copy paste the raid message as we go into the raid. For now, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song to do. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye bye, Timmy. This is the end of the show. And bye bye to you, Satan. Now it's time to go. Bye 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Lots of love. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.